Well, the LGBT activists are determined, as we know, to paint every Christian as a hater and a homophobe, and there seems to be little regard from this community when a Christian's livelihood ends up being affected because of his or her views on homosexuality. The latest case in point involves Coach Dave Daubenmire. He is a veteran 25-year high school football coach, an adjunct professor at Mount Vernon Nazarene University in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and founder of Pass the Salt Ministries, whose aim is to organize and mobilize the army of God, as he says, to be salt and light, as in Matthew 5:12. And Coach Daubenmire, who's had a very successful career coaching high school football, was tapped to become the head football coach at Lakewood High School in Ohio. But the board voted to reject the superintendent's recommendation to hire him, in part because of a cyber smear campaign that labeled him anti-gay and homophobic. And the coach is joining us now. He's going to give us his take on it all. And Coach Dave, it's great to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks so much for having me on. It's just been unbelievable, Janet, what they've done to me here. I was listening to that introduction. This is my hometown, Janet. My family has been in this school district here in Ohio for 50 years. We own 7 properties, my brothers and my sister and I, in this property. And to see what the homosexual lobby was able to do in this small little God-fearing town was just absolutely, you would have to heard it to believe it.
Boy, well, let's go back a little bit, because I know that you've had a very successful coaching career. You went at, for example, London High School. You took that team to the playoffs 5 times. You had another great record at Fairfield Christian Academy. How did the controversy over your recommendation to take over the head football coach job begin? I know there was this change.org petition, but how did this all begin?
Well, let me give you the Cliff Notes version real quick, because I can talk real fast, Janet. Back in 1987, I got radically born again. King Jesus came and dwelled inside my heart and did for me what a phone booth did for Clark Kent, and radically transformed me into a brand new creature. And I went to London High School, and we were very successful in London High School. And in 1997, 10 years later, I got sued by the American Civil Liberties Union for having prayer with our football team at London High School. After that, I didn't lose my job. I laid it down. I started Pass the Salt Ministries, which is what I do. And I've spent the last dozen years out on the forefront in the culture trying to awaken Christians to exactly what was going on. I have my my website. I had a little radio ministry. I have a place where I place videos online, CoachDave.tv, where I put 3 videos a week up there, real short little videos about where we are in America, what Christians our response ought to be. And then, Janet, in December, the football job here in my local town. I'm 61 years old. I don't need a job. I run a ministry. Our football program came open here in our little town, and I thought, man, what a great way to pay back to my local community. Go in there and try to raise up young men to behave and to put some life back into our football program. Went through a long interview process, and 3 different committees recommended me to the superintendent. And then the homosexual lobby, Change.org, and Equality Ohio began to bombard our school board with accusations of bullying. You know how the game's played. We all know how it goes. And the school board last Wednesday night, by a vote of 3-2, overturned the recommendation of everybody on that committee who had recommended me to be the next football coach.
It's really not that surprising, I suppose. But I was reading some of what they said on this petition that they put online. But they talk, for example, about you think that the bullying issue of homosexuals being bullied is not true. Now, what is the truth? What is your real position on that?
Anybody can go to CoachDave.tv and see the video that I put on there. And I put on the video, Janet, that we're a nation of bullies. And what I said in this nation of bullies is I said in there twice, Janet, that I'm not for bullying. I'm not for bullying. We should never do it. And but that bullying was an instrument that the homosexual agenda uses to get it into our schools. And then went on to tell everybody that, listen, bullying's part of your life. The older you get, the more you're going to get bullied. It'll be your boss at work. It'll be your, it could be somebody you work with. The government can bully you. And not that bullying's okay, but that we need to teach our kids it's part of life to be able to stand up and fight back and pick yourself back up no matter how badly people treat you. And out of that, they took that video, pulled a little segment out of it, and said, Coach Dave is for bullying. And that's the hammer that they use to beat me over the head at our local school district.
Which is not true. They rip it out of context.
Oh, sure. It's is not true. Anybody who watches the whole video knows exactly what it was I was saying.
Yeah. Now, here's something else that they said. They labeled you, and I hate even reading this to you, but I'm doing it so you can refute it. But
Okay.
they labeled you a man so obsessed with a domineering vision of masculinity that he encourages bullying, particularly when it is directed at homosexuals. You're obsessed with a domineering vision of masculinity?
But see, Janet, when the whole thing broke out, I thought, this is ridiculous. Nobody's going to believe this.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I didn't even respond to it at first. See, they were playing upon another video that I produced where I said that one of the problems that we have in America is that we have women training boys how to be men, that boys cannot learn how to be a man from a woman, and that men need to get more actively involved with the training of our children. So they took that and said, I hate women. You know how the game's played.
I do.
And the amazing thing, Janet, is not that they played that game, but that God-fearing people would believe such bunk. But that's where we are in America.
I know. I understand completely. Now, how did it go before the school board? Because they voted, 3-2, right, against recommending you?
Yes, ma'am. It was 3-2, and I had a lot of supporters in the room, and those who were from out of town, of course, would come in and they would talk about. They had their playbook down, right? Homophobic, bullying, hateful, mean, suicide, and then one of the people who supported me, who've known me, I lived here 50 years, would stand up and say, "No, I know Coach, and he's great. We need Coach." And then next guy would get up and he would go back to that same playbook: homophobe, bully, suicide. And that went on for about an hour and a half, and at the end, the board voted 3-2 with Equality Ohio rather than the citizens in our local community. And by the way, the citizens in our local community want to figure out how the homosexual agenda got in control of their school board.
Well, and that's what's kind of strange, because if you're making a hiring decision in a local school district, really the voices you ought to be listening to are the people within that district, not outside interest groups.
And not only that, Janet, I was recommended, as I said, by two different groups through this interview process, extensive interviews. The superintendent, assistant superintendent, principal, assistant principal, and athletic director, all 5-0 recommended me as not the best candidate, the only candidate for that position. And the school board went against that vote 3-2.
Now, did you get a chance to vote to talk to some of these board members who voted against you? Did you have any conversations with them?
No, ma'am. In fact, I had to sit there for about 40 minutes and hear them drag my family's name through the mud. And when I rose to speak, the president would not. She gavelled me down. She gave me 4 minutes to try to defend my character in front of this group of people who had savaged me and my family for about an hour and a half. It was one of the most. Janet, listen. I'm a tax-paying citizen of this community. I'm not some old carp that just washed up on the beach. Do you understand? My brother at one time was president of the Booster Club in this school. It is unbelievable. They treated me like I was some guy who just come straggling in from out of town, and it was so disheartening to hear these people who are not even part of our school district be able to do that to one of our own.
Did they have concerns? Did they raise the issue at all during that time everybody was speaking about you being a Christian, and they were concerned about your views as a Christian on the issue? Did that play a major part in their objections?
You mean my radical views, right, Jan?
No, I'm sorry. Your radical, crazy, far-right extremist views. Yes.
Yes. Now the school board remained silent because they weren't going to show their hand. But yeah, these are the accusations that they all made based on no evidence of all. Janet, I've been a football coach for 30 years. My life has been rebuilding football programs, and I was tailor-made, called by God, I believe, to do this job. And for them to accuse me of bullying, when I tell everybody, every job I left, Janet, they cried. The kids cried when I left. I spent 25 years as a special education teacher. Do you know anybody more bullied than handicapped children?
Yeah.
And I taught that 25 years of my life. None of the allegations were true, but they throw enough mud, it sticks on you, and you spend the rest of your life trying to explain that that's not really who you are.
Did you anticipate that it would go the way it went when you saw this online petition and saw that there were some of these groups who were motivated to come up against you? Did you think it would end this way? Were you prepared for that to end the way it did?
The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in my way. So, yeah, I was prepared for this thing to go wherever I can go, wherever it would go. But, Janet, here's what broke my heart. Here's what I wasn't prepared for, Janet. This is the greatest battle in our local community, Christian battle in our community in 2 generations. I mean, our community has never, ever seen anything like this, Janet. Christian battle. And Janet, not one pastor showed up. Not one. Not one pastor from our community saw that it was necessary or prudent or whatever to be able to be there and defend not me, Janet, defend the Lord. Defend the fact that there are citizens in our community who are sick and tired of homosexuality being crammed down the throat of their children. They're sick and tired of it. And I was there fighting that battle, standing up saying homosexuality is sin. Not that I hate a homosexual. It's amazing you even have to say that.
I know.
Sexuality is sin, and Coach Dave is allowed to be our football coach, just even though he does agree with the Bible. That's still accepted here in our local community, and there were no pastoral support there at all.
Did you talk to any pastors prior to the meeting and ask them to come and support you? Did you hear anything about pastors knowing about it but not wanting to come and stand up for you?
No. I got emails and that kind of stuff. We're in your corner, Coach. We're praying for you, Janet. We have to move beyond prayer, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Jesus prayed so hard in the Garden of Gethsemane, the blood came out of his pores. Then he got up and he went. Yeah. So prayer is good and prayer is important, but I'm one of those guys. I pray on the way to the battle, and I pray during the battle, and I pray after the battle. We can't just pray. If our pastors don't understand the battle that rages before us and understand that the Scripture teaches us that faith without works is dead, prayer alone is not enough. So we have to engage the enemy. And if they would have been in that room and they would have looked into the eyes of those homosexual activists, Janet, then they would have understood what the battle's all about. It's about our children and our grandchildren, the souls of those yet born here in America. And we need men of God, the shepherds of the flock, to stand up and defend those helpless little kids that are going into those schools.
Well, do you think it's a matter of cowardice?
Yeah, I think so. For him to do right, not to do it, to him it is sin. They knew, Janet. They knew, and I'm not blowing my horn behind their back. I'll say it right to their face. They knew it was going on. They were missing an action at the most important moment in the school district, as I said, in 2 generations, and they chose to be out doing whatever pastors do, whatever that was. Janet, wow. I'm a pastor too. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and it would have been great to have some other men of God standing behind me saying, we stand with this man. So
what's next for you?
Well, I'm going to keep serving the Lord. In fact, the more they persecuted them, the more they prospered and grew, Janet. So I'm redoubling my efforts. I'm redoubling my efforts about the gospel of Jesus Christ and truth, justice, all those things. I'm going to redouble my efforts. I'm not going to lay home and lick on my wounds. I'm going to pick myself up and jump back into the fray.
Well, God bless you. You can find out more at CoachDaveLive.com. And Dave Daubenmire, thank you so much for your courage. It was great to talk to you. God bless you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Not yet.